What is up, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. So, the story you tell yourself. We all have a story or a narration that we tell ourselves every day, and every waking moment, and every minute, and every second. And that story has the power to shape your mood, your energy levels, and the actions you take. For example, I woke up this morning feeling rather down. Wasn't feeling very preppy or happy. For whatever reason, I was feeling very irritable. That quickly escalated to anger. Granted, nothing around me caused me to experience that, nor was there anyone around me to induce that in me. Just woke up this morning feeling irritable and then quickly became angry. Now, it took me a few hours to recognize the state I'm in. Well, it took me a couple of hours until I recognized the state I'm in. It wasn't really until I hit the gym that I realized that I'm in a really bad mood. And then I basically started asking myself, why is it that I'm in a bad mood? Where is this coming from? Why do I feel so irritable and angry? Why do I feel like I just want to destroy something? And the funny thing is, when I was at the gym, it's almost like people can feel off of you the vibe you give off. I would literally walk from one piece of equipment to the other and people would avoid me. And that also got me to really think to myself, okay, I have no intention of scaring anybody or trying to be an asshole to anybody. I'm just not mentally in a good state. Now, why is that? And frankly, there was no particular reason. I just woke up and I didn't feel good. Now, the upside to this is that this irritability and anger translated to a lot of force and power. Like, I've pushed some serious heavy weight today. And because I did that, moving that heavy weight started to make me feel good. I started feeling positive. Like, okay, I'm actually really happy with this. I did something positive, constructive, and good. I hit a new PR, and I was like, wow, I feel good. And then quickly, my mood started shifting. And as my mood started shifting, the story in my head started shifting. In the morning, I was telling myself I'm angry, I'm irritable. And then right after, during my workout at the gym, I started telling myself, man, I'm doing so good. I've lifted some heavy, strong weight. I'm looking good. And I have a good pump. And just it wasn't just the lifting of the heavy weight and the achievement, but rather the story I decided to tell myself about the proceeding of events that changed my mood. Because as I was lifting the heavyweight earlier on, I was still in a bad mood and angry and irritable. But as I was doing the activity and I decided, make no mistake, I made the decision to change the narrative and story I told myself, is when my mood started shifting. So I bring this up to emphasize to all of you guys the importance of the story you tell yourself, and that your mood, your thoughts are not things that are out of your control. You actually do have a lot of influence over them. And you don't just want to start your day with a good story or narrative that you tell yourself, but you actually want to proactively monitor the story and the narrative in your mind through the whole day. The thing is, as the day passes by, we tend to become more physically and mentally exhausted. We have less energy. And guess what happens? You actually do tend to become more negative and cynical towards the end of the day versus earlier in the morning. If you're a normal human being without having any mental or physical issues, you tend to wake up in the morning, you're optimistic, you're refreshed, you're ready and good to go. But still, as the day passes by, your tank of optimism basically decreases or runs out. And you do start becoming more pessimistic. So the thing is, you need to really monitor your state. You need to be proactive about it. You need to watch the thoughts that run through your head, the story you tell yourself, the narration within your head. And that's important because it helps shape not only how you feel through the day, but the actions you take through the day are shaped by that story you tell yourself. And trust me when I say it's not easy to do. Like, it took me today a few hours to actually change that story I was telling myself, that I'm irritable and angry, to I'm happy, I'm accomplished, I'm easygoing, and just become relaxed. Like, I literally, and that's the other thing you have to realize, is that whatever you carry in your mind translates into your body. So when I was saying earlier, like in the gym today, I started noticing people are avoiding me and walking away further from me. Like, that tension you carry in your head translates into your body. And if you guys, I'm not sure if you guys are aware of this, but each one of us, our heartbeat produces a unique electromagnetic field. Okay? And that like your heart literally, through the electromagnetic field it produces, can communicate to others your state. And the more sensitive you are, like people that are more sensitive and empathetic can more easily pick on this. This is where people will say things like, I have a gut feeling or an intuition about somebody, the way they're acting. So that's where it comes from. It's actually the electromagnetic field. We all have one. If your heart is beating, you most certainly have one. And it comes literally from the heart. So if you're not feeling good, your heart beats to a certain rhythm. And that rhythm is broadcasted through your electromagnetic wave. And it's going to be more depressed. Okay? And if you're happy, your heart beats at a certain rhythm, and that is broadcasted through the electromagnetic waves. And people can pick on this, okay? You've most certainly experienced it, whether you recognize it or not, and you have most certainly noticed people acting to you differently based on basically your thoughts and the story you tell yourself. So that was a rather unique experiment for me today in terms of social dynamics and my own state and how it impacts others. I'm definitely, today was a reminder that I do need to pay more attention to my own state. Because I can tell you something too, like a week ago, unlike today, I was at the gym and I was super happy, super positive, super bubbly. And because I was in that state, people literally were getting out of their way, coming to talk to me, interact with me, and just curious about me. And that's because if you're projecting good energy, good vibes, positivity, people want to be around that. Okay? Nobody wants to be around an angry, depressed, sad person. Which more or less with me this morning. But, like, people want to be around fun, positive, happy, good vibe kind of a person. They want to, in a lot of ways, people want to consume that energy. So they come closer to it because they want more of it. All right. And especially people that are more, I guess, down on their luck, or they're not feeling that well, they'll tend to be attracted more to positivity. But sometimes also, misery loves company. So people that are feeling down will be attracted to other people that are feeling down. But I guess I digress. To go back to my original point is, you need to watch the story you tell yourself, right? If you wake up every morning and you tell yourself that you're a loser, guess what? It's going to become a self-fulfilling prophecy. Because what's going to happen is the thoughts you carry in your mind materialize into your actions or through your actions. So you repeat it long enough and it becomes real. So if that's the case, and this is where people talk about manifestation. I mean, technically there is really no such thing as manifestation, but what it is that the thought you carry in your mind gets reflected in your actions, okay? If you repeat something or you desire something so much, so badly, you are gonna take consistent, repetitive action over time that will eventually get you what you want, okay? And you have to be careful, therefore, about the thoughts, the stories, and the narratives you tell yourself. If you want to achieve something, or you want a certain lifestyle, or you want a certain, I don't know, like relationship, accomplishment, whatever it is you want, and you feel that you're really far away from achieving it, or that it might feel like it's impossible to achieve, you're not helping your case by waking up every morning and saying, hey, I suck, I'm a loser, I'm a failure, I'm not going to get this because, and you start giving yourself reasons as to why you can't get it. The more you do this, the further you are going to be away from getting what you want. So it's really, really important that you manage the story and the narration you tell yourself. It is important that you pay attention to it and make sure that that story serves you. That in that story, you are your own champion, your own coach, your own parent, your own therapist that's pushing you forward. And it's extremely important not to get discouraged if you don't get your results manifested or materialized right away. Because here's the thing about life, guys. There is no deadline to achieve something, okay? The only reason it feels like there's a deadline is because you're comparing yourself to others, and because someone someday came up with this arbitrary deadline and it became a standard for God knows what reason. But you have your own unique journey, you have your own unique timeline, and things will happen for you when they are meant to happen for you. The thing is, regardless of how long it takes, regardless of the obstacles you face, regardless of the failures you run into, you have to maintain that positive, supportive story you tell yourself. And it gets hard when you run into barriers or you run into scenarios that are counter to the story you tell yourself. This is when your faith in yourself and your faith in the story you tell yourself gets really tested, you guys. Like, you will get tested within your mental fortitude, within your own mental castle, like you will not believe. And there are days when that happens where you will give up on your story and you will switch into a more negative, depressing story. And when that happens, accept that it happened, but move on quickly from it. And give yourself the grace to know that you are not perfect and that you've just had a hard day, not a hard life. And that things can always get better. You just need to push forward. You need to keep pushing forward no matter what. But for you to be able to do that, for you to have the mental fortitude and the mental energy, you need to tell yourself the right story. That narrator in your head needs to be on your side. Needs to be there to give you a mental sort of hug and pick up whenever you feel down or like you misstep. And that's why the story you tell yourself is very important. And like I said, it takes practice to get to a point where it's normal and natural for you to tell yourself a good story. And it requires a level of optimism that if it doesn't come naturally to you, you're going to have to train yourself into it. And until it becomes a habit, it's going to be rather tough at the beginning. But once that habit is established, like anything else you do on a daily basis, it becomes a habit that's on autopilot. You don't need to think about it, just like breathing. You don't think about breathing, you just do it. It happens automatically, and you're not conscious of it. So that's the level you need to get to when it comes to the story you tell yourself. It has to get to the point where that positive, upbeat story is unconscious, you don't think about it, and it is on autopilot. And I promise you that once you do that long enough, and long enough will vary from person to person, you will get what you want. If not, then at least you had a better time going after what you want versus just the whole negative, depressed, sad, angry thoughts or story you would have had as you went after what you want. So watch the story you tell yourself. Keep a good, positive, supportive story. And before I wrap this up, I guess one way to do this is to try to disconnect yourself from the story or the feeling that you're experiencing in the moment. So for example, this morning, I was irritable and angry. And I basically defaulted into telling myself, I am angry. I am irritable. So you need to detach. And in order to detach, rather than saying, I am irritable, I am angry, you say, I am experiencing irritability. I am experiencing anger. Why is that? So basically, what I've done here by detaching is I didn't identify with the emotion or the state. And by doing that, you're building this mental ledge that gives you an opportunity to think through what is it you're experiencing. Versus if you identify with the emotion right away by saying, I am irritable or I'm angry, guess what? You enter that state right away. There's no pause. there's no chance for you to actually try and manage your state. You become that state versus an observer of that state. You want to think of it as if you were experiencing an out of body phenomenon. You literally detach and you basically examine the state you're going through. And that's why this is the key here. Rather than saying, I am irritable or I am angry, say, I'm experiencing irritability. I'm experiencing anger. Why is that? And that allows you to detach and allows you the opportunity to change the story and the narrative going through your head, and gives you an opportunity also to explore the root cause of why you might be experiencing those feelings. All right, you guys. So I'm going to wrap it up here. Hopefully this has been helpful to some of you out there. As per usual, very much appreciate your time and attention, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.